Welcome back, learners, and good morning to all of the learners who joined us late. Just to tell you that we were discussing about the change management in power distribution, and with me we have Professor Dhoop, who is head HR in an MNC, and Dr. Srilata. She is reader in human resource management at School of Management at IGNOU. And, in this change management in power distribution, we were discussing about change management concept, processes, people change management, change requirement, and emerging developments. So before I request Professor Dhoop to continue the discussions, I would like to share some information that I told in yesterday discussions also, but for the benefit of the learners who were not present yesterday, I would like to repeat that again today. That exam of the January 2007 batch, means your batch, has been postponed from June 2007 to December 2007. And for appearing in December 2007, you have to fill in the examination form again during the period August 1st to 30th September, as you filled in right now for the June 2007. These form will not be considered for the December 2007. You have to fill in again the examination form during 1st August to 30th September. Second information is regarding the admissions to the next cycle, means that July 2007 cycle. You can tell your friends or colleagues working in different utilities that for the July 2007 admission for this program, the admissions are open, and the forms can be obtained from the headquarters as well as from the regional centers. In cash, this is for ₹50, but if somebody wants it by post, then he or she has to send a demand draft of ₹100 in favor of IGNOU, and payable at the city where from he or she want to take the form. If you want to take the form from regional centers, then this should be payable at the city of the regional center. Otherwise, if you want to take the form from get it by post from the headquarters, then it should be payable at New Delhi, but it should be in favor of IGNOU only. And the last date of the submission of the exam, admission form, is May 31st. But if you want to have the form by post, then your request should reach to that concerned office by 10th May. So this was the information that I wanted to share with you. Now I would like to request Professor Dhoop to please continue his presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Manish. Now, friends, as I was already telling you and discussing that change is a omnipresent process phenomena in organizations, and we have to manage change in order to make our organization effective, and particularly so because being a service organization, our organization is responsible for effective discharge of services to all the consumers, and in doing so, not only the benefit accrues to the consumers at large, but the benefit also accrues to the individual who is working in the organization at large. And since change is a omnipresent phenomenon, and sometimes we can't even anticipate change from which quarter the change will suddenly appear, so we have to be more or less geared to manage change at all levels, at all stages, and particularly being in service organization, because the mood of the consumer can change at the smallest irritation, or if the services are not provided according to or up to their satisfaction, then also their feedback or their response is very poor about the individual service provider or even the organization as a whole. and particularly when organizations like yours are changing so fast, particularly because the power or the control is shifting from hands of one to another very frequently, and the style of management of each management is different. Maybe BSCS, the style of management was different, and now with the Reliance taking over, the style of management might be different. So all these changes are taking place all around you, and so the persons who are working for the organizations, they have to be totally geared up to manage or to handle change very effectively, because individually if the person is not able to perform due to external pressures or external influences, then the person feels very bad, because despite the fact that each individual is doing his or her best and delivering services to the best of his capability, the results are not forthcoming, then it becomes a very demotivating situation. So it is very important for all the service providers, particularly all professionals, to understand the process of change, and at his or her own level how to manage the change, the process of change. So it is very important to understand all the nitty-gritties of the process of change, and in how many ways the change could take place in a particular organization, and what are the methods to manage change. And we also have to know the future, what future holds, and what kind of changes are anticipated in the future, so that one could gear himself up and be prepared.
Yeah, please give the call. Yes, please speak.
RC1.
Yeah.
Change management was well elaborately defined. Every aspect was conveyed. Naturally, problems are there when there are change. It may be opted or not. Now my question is, what is the best part and the worst part of the change management? What is the rate of success till date? J.K. Garg.
What is the rate?
What is the best part and what is the worst part of a change? And
what is the success
what
rate?
Is the success rate?
What is the success rate of change?
Very good question. And see, every organization has its own success rate, but conceptually speaking, change is, as I mentioned, change is always there, whether we want it or not, whether we like it or not. If the organization is there in the business, and if the organization has to sustain itself and grow, the change has to be managed. As I said, organization is a dynamic entity, and change process is also a dynamic process. So both the things are dynamic and both are moving. So because of that, the process of change becomes very difficult to manage. And the best part is, if we want to manage change, the organization has to keep itself proactively geared up. Each individual in the organization has also got to keep himself or herself totally geared up, because as I said, from which direction the change will come, when the change will come, nobody can foresee it. And so always the organization and its people have to keep themselves totally in a geared up condition to face any kind of change, any kind of challenge, whether it is coming in the form of a new strategy, new technology, new structure, or new set of people to work with. Now, as I was interacting with some of my friends here, they were saying lot of changes have taken place in the organization. When it was a government organization, then it became BSCS, and now it has become Reliance. So, lot of changes have taken place. Organization structure has changed number of times. Lot of strategies have been devised and deployed. Different strategies have been changing from time to time. Different set of people have been joining and leaving. People have been trained. People have been inducted into new technology. People have been inducted into new roles, and all those things are going on. So, for any organization to handle change is a necessity. Now the question, what is the best part and what is the worst part? The best part is that it is a kind of challenge for the entire organization and for everybody working for the organization, because all of the people in the organization take pride that they are working for a particular organization, and if they can perform very well, they feel so happy and motivated. If they don't, if they are not able to perform, they feel demotivated. So therefore the best part is the challenge, and when you can face that challenge and you can perform according to the challenge, and you can handle the challenge from the horns and face it, then you feel happy and motivated. And the worst part is when there is no challenge, if the organization is not performing well, and if it is not competitors are taking the better of the organization and the organization is lagging behind, then the challenges also cannot be accepted, cannot be faced, and therefore the people at large become demotivated, and they don't feel happy about it. So that is the worst part. So if you manage change effectively, that is the best thing to do. If you cannot manage the change, and the competition and the new pressures created because of strategy, because of technology, because of people, because of all those issues, if you are not able to do that, that is the worst scenario, and the worst thing for the organization as well as for the individual who is working for the organization. And what was the next question?
Success rate
of
change in different organizations.
Again, the success rate, as I said, I gave you example of that Steel Authority of India Limited. That was a mega change, and that was effectively handled. And I can say very effectively because I was a part of it, and I was the person, I was the prime mover of that change. And you see, if the things are done right, if the process of change is tackled effectively in a systematic manner, you move from one stage to another systematically and effectively, then certainly you can manage the change. There is no doubt that it should be 100% success rate. Those companies who take change, who cannot anticipate change, and who do not take sufficient action, proactive action, and who do not follow the steps effectively to manage this change, they lag behind, and because of that the success rate itself is going to go bad. So it depends entirely on the people who are managing the organization, how effective the change process is going to be and how successful it is going to be. And similarly, those people who are not able to manage, those management who are not aware, who are not proactive to the process of change, and they take the change process lightly, they certainly suffer. A lot of examples are there. The companies who manage change effectively, they have gone up. Their progress has been there. They have been progressing effectively, and those companies who have not been able to manage, because after all, what is change? Change is nothing but the process of dynamic process of things taking place all around the organization. How effectively you manage those forces, that is what is change, nothing else. If there is competition all around you, and if you are fighting the competition and you are coming out successful, in fighting the competition and doing equally good or better than the competitors, then you have managed the change effectively. If you have failed in that, then you have not managed the change properly. So it is nothing that you are doing something new or something totally out of this world, but it is nothing but fighting the forces which are changing and which are making changes everywhere. How do you effectively counter those forces and make your organization grow? So that is what is change.
So one has to accept that change is always towards progression. So change is always progressive.
Change is always good.
Yeah.
Yeah, question please.
Actually, change is not only for organization, change is for individual. Whether a person is living at home, you have to change your living environment at home. You have to change at being an employee at an organization. An organization has to change to remain competitive. And regarding change, there are very few lines that either accept the change. This is applicable to organization, employee of an organization, or a family member. Either accept the change or the time will change you.
Very well said.
Rightly
Very
said.
well said.
Rightly said.
Either accept the change or time will change you.
Certainly, rightly said. And Professor Dhup gave you gave a very nice case study of the sale, that managing the change. But here the learners would like to know what was the effect on the performance of the mines after that change.
Okay, very good question.
Result of that change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Manish. It was really very nice of you to talk about that. I would like to share with you that though, as I said, the process of managing that kind of change, mega change, is a long process, and it takes long. And as I said, 1.5 years it took us to plan the change and then get the approval, management approval. Then another 6 months in bringing about the change in the organization structure. Wherever new technology had to be imported, that was imported. New set of people were inducted. Those people who were already working, they were trained afresh. Lot of workshops, because I find that if the attitude of people changes, if you make the attitude of the people positive and proactive, then most of the issues that are plaguing or that are harassing the organization get sorted out without any problem. The same thing happened. You see, the people were not performing because they had become satisfied with their status quo, and they had become lethargic, and there was no trigger for them to do anything better, because management was also not very keen to make any effective improvements. Once the management became aware that there are certain improvements to be made, they started thinking about the whole thing. Then suddenly they came up with the idea that these are the bottlenecks in the performance. Why? People are sitting in some people are in the mines, nobody goes to them, nobody listens to them, their problems or their feedback is coming back to steel plants. I don't know, they didn't know whether some effective resolution of those problems was being made or not. So because of the distance, because of the apathy of the management, because of the lethargy which had set in the organization, the things were not moving. Once the management became aware that certain changes were needed and they started tackling the issues, then a concerted effort was made to improve the things. 2 of us were posted there. We stayed there for 1.5 years and did the study, visited all the mines. People in the mines also became aware that something is being done for their improvement of their plight, and they also came up with lot of suggestions. They came forward. They said this should be done. Nothing was done by us as such, but the feedback, when the feedback came and we were aware that okay, these are the issues which are not being handled properly, these are the problem areas which nobody has looked at, and these are the things how these things can be improved. These are the suggestions how things can be improved. Because as Dr. Manish already said, that lot of people, I think one of our friends said 25% people are really very effective, very competent people everywhere. But somebody has to listen to them. Somebody has to promote their effectiveness. So when that is done, when the management starts taking that kind of keen interest, these people who are really get-goers and doers, they start moving, and they also, motivate other people also. So radical difference was seen once we started working. We started going, talking to people, finding out what was wrong. Then they suddenly became alive, and there was a lot of activity all around, and people started contributing. And when really effectively management took that decision to put the right kind of people in place, and the right kind of policies were framed, incentive schemes were made, then suddenly there was a lot of improvement all around. And after about an year's time, 30% improvement was found there. And a lot of pilferage that was going on in the mines, that stopped. Because people were there now, senior people were placed on the mines. They were supervising everything. If the equipment had gone bad, the equipments were being repaired in time. Earlier the equipments which were became faulty or something went wrong with them, they were lying there for years. Nobody was paying any attention to them. So all those things improved. So in the very first year, after one year, the progress was about 30%. And the company started saving crores and crores of rupees. New suggestion schemes were framed. People started contributing their suggestions. A lot of things. Management started knowing they became aware of certain things which they were not at all aware of earlier. So, very good question, Dr. Manish, and a lot of improvements came up after that. I beg your pardon, sir. You asked a question. I don't know whether I.
No, that was not my question, sir.
He was supplementing the need for change.
Yes.
He was supplementing the need for change actually.
Okay.
You have to accept the change, otherwise
Time will change you.
Yes. So success rate, I think the question asked by my friend out there, the success rate has to be 100% if properly taken up, planned and implemented. But I know there are a lot of impediments. There are as people attitudes and people resistance and inertia to change. Because of that, sometimes 30 to 40% debacle, 30 to 40% effectiveness may be lost. So about 50 to 60% results are always visible without any problem. Can I proceed? Any more questions? Now, external forces of change in a generic way I had already mentioned. The most important external trigger for change is marketplace itself. When you are in a marketplace, you have a lot of competitors. Your service, your effectiveness to provide service. If you have competitors, if somebody else is providing a better service, certainly you have to gear up. Otherwise, you will be losing a lot of market share to them. So I don't know what kind of competition is there. There may not be any competition for them, isn't it? Who are your power distribution? Who are your competitors? Nobody.
So actually, more or less, till now it is a more or less
Monolistic situation.
monolistic.
So that is why maybe that marketplace thing is not impacting you that much.
But sir, consumer pressures, consumer are demanding more.
Yeah, so your marketplace is consumer driven. I agree. Yeah, there was a question.
Yeah, there is a call. We can take this call, please.
Hello, I am from Ganganagar.
Yeah, welcome.
I have one question with specific reference to the power sector.
Okay.
Generally, successful change in management in Indian context is associated with public sector management to private sector management only. Why it is so? Though changes successfully introduced in public sector area have resulted in very good improvement like railways and sales. Please explain.
Could you kindly repeat your question? You said the comparative analysis you want, is it? Private sector versus
Why
public
we
sector?
always say that the change is inevitable in private sector, not in the public utilities, when it is successful in railways and sale.
I think that is a misconception, because many of our good public sector companies who are really performing in the recent years, we have seen they have outperformed some of the private sector organizations also. We can see a number of companies are there. All our Navratnas, you see SAIL, earlier it was lagging behind, maybe because the reason was not the effectiveness of performance or performance delivery. Maybe the management at the top was not right, and maybe too much of interference of the government, because all the policies and everything were driven entirely by the government and the politicians. I am not criticizing anybody, but political interference has been there quite a bit, because I have been there in SAIL for 25 years. I have seen how much of political interference has been there all through. So sometimes the chairman or the top man would want to do a lot of things, but he couldn't do because there was a lot of interference from political circles. I know, I can name the people who wanted to do. One very good entrepreneur and manager, Mr. K.C. Khanna. He was a real force to reckon with during that period when he was there. And he took the organization to newer heights, and a lot of improvements were made. But whenever he wanted something, some government decision in certain areas, he wanted to make a new cadre of the officer cadre, like comparable to IAS and all that. But maybe certain circles in the bureaucratic circles, certain people did not like that and didn't appreciate that. So the proposal given by him were not really given effect to. So sometimes this is what happens. Then another thing in public sector, at that time, there was acute dearth of jobs. So job creation was the prime, prime function of the prime objective of the organizations, public sector organizations. I remember in SAIL, people sometimes they didn't have any qualification, but because of the people, the son of the soil kind of concept was there, that these people have to be given jobs. So even sometimes they were not having adequate experience or qualifications, they were they were offered, they were given jobs, though though later on they were trained. But certainly that lot of effort goes into training the people.
Yeah, please. Ganganagar, please speak. Yes, please speak.
When I was talking about the change,
please, first you reduce the volume of your TV. First you reduce the volume of your TV. Yeah, I
my
speak.
specific reference is about power sector change. In this area, we see that the private management have successfully managed the turnaround of the power sector. In distribution areas also, they are successful in bringing down the T&D losses and getting profit in their operational management.
Okay.
Why it is so that we cannot change this scenario in government sector also?
Very good question. My only submission is, I have worked in both in government organization and private sector. See, whereas in the private sector, if you have to do a thing today, it means today. You have to deliver the result today, whether you stay up to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the night. You can't shift it or you can't postpone it for tomorrow. In the public sector, you see, we have got our own ways of doing things. 5 o'clock means 5 o'clock people leave for the day. and if the work is pending, it can be attended to tomorrow, or maybe not exactly like that. I am only talking about office scenario. Maybe in the power distribution where people have to complete a job today, they have to do it in any case. So I am not saying that, but in any case, the kind of rigid discipline that is there, that has to be maintained in the private sector. Certainly, it is much less. That kind of discipline is not seen in the public sector or in the government circles.
Maybe certain regulations also will not, maybe hindering the change which has to take place in public sectors because of the interference of the ministry, because you have to take so many approvals. The procedures might be vast. You know, you just can't overnight change anything. You have to take into account so many other departments into consideration, the ministry into consideration, and then only, so all this process takes a long time. That might be the reason for public utilities to change immediately. It will take time. Whereas in private sector, the scenario might be different.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Srilata, because in the private sector, the boss will be out there only. You can immediately go and approach him, and he is supervising. Close supervision is there, so he knows what is the problem, and immediate resolution of the problem could be there. Maybe in the government sector, the file has to move from one place to another, and it will take a lot of time. And then there are a lot of procedures, there are a lot of rules, regulations and all that, systems which you can't flout those. And so you have to go through those channels. And because of that, there is the inherent delays which take place. And third thing is also attitude. When people, that attitudes over the years becomes a kind of complacent attitude, that okay, if I don't do it today, what the hell is going to happen to me or anybody else? Why can't he, he also knows, everybody knows that I am also an employee, and I will also work according to my convenience or my pace. So in the private sector, that is not there. If the job has to be done today, it means it has to be done today. There is no ifs and buts. I have also seen that. I was working in the public sector. At that time, I could take it a little casually. I could finish my job, if not today, tomorrow. If not tomorrow, day after tomorrow. But in the private sector, I can't afford to do that. If I don't do it today, then I know that somewhere it is going to hit me hard. I am not going to be there for long if I continue doing things like that.
But still the scenario has changed now. The public sector, with reference to the private sector, they are also in position, they are up to date in all the other activities also. They are coming up. They are not losing in any way. They are also making themselves quite comfortable in their position, and they are also doing the things which are required for their...
I agree with Dr. Srilata, because people are people. They are all good people everywhere. We can't discriminate that only good people are working in the private sector and people in the government sector are not good. I find some of the best brains, some of the best people are in the government sectors or PSUs.
Now the effective of that line, the second part of that line of one of our learners said that time will change you. So the impact of that thing is coming into that public sector also, that the environment that is around because of that success of the private sector and taking over that these industry by the private these runners, then these management in the public sector also have felt that we should also change now, otherwise survival is difficult.
Absolutely.
So that impact of that time will change you, that impact is coming in the public sector also, and the time is forcing them to change and manage those manage or the bringing in the new policies, new changes, new decisions, and that decision making process also have been hastened. Now the time is not taking that much time is not taken by the management to bring into the new changes or the taking the new decisions. So all that has forced the management in the public sector or the government sector also, if they have to survive, they have to bring in the change and do the things faster. But yeah, we can take the call. Please give the call.
Yes.
Yes, please speak.
Change management is okay and everybody is accepting, but why there is a huge difference in the pay structure of the person of the same designation and of the same nature of duty? This is my question.
Yeah, I agree with you that there is a lot of difference in the government, at least government, if not PSU, between PSU and private. There is lot of difference in the pay scale of PSU employee and private also, but government certainly there is lot of difference. But another thing, you see, a private sector employee doesn't have so many other benefits, like that statutory benefits, which like free medication and free education for the children, for loans, then pension and so many others. You see, after working for more than 35 years at the fag end now, I can see the benefits the government employees are getting. They don't value those benefits when at the time when they are working, but they will value it at the time of retirement. One of my friends, a family friend, who is I am working at a very senior level all through. He has been growing in the government circles, in the government department, from a very junior position. Now he is at a middle level position. I find that he is much better off at the end of when he has retired. He is more comfortable because the kind of pension he is drawing. He is even if he is getting about 25,000 rupees pension, a person who has been working for a private sector organization, to get 25,000 he must have about 50 lakhs saving, then only he can get about 25,000 rupees per month. So, and then throughout the life, private sector person had to shell out money from his savings only for educating his children. For getting any loan, he has been paying very heavy interest from the banks and all that. Whereas I have seen in Engineers India Limited, we are getting loans at the very small interest rate of 6%.
Yes.
Whereas everywhere else it was 12 to 13 to 14%. So the kind of the gulf of difference. You see, whereas some of the government sector and PSU sector employees could build their houses by taking loan at a very low rate of interest. At that time, banks were not giving that kind of loan. At that time, the public sector people could not build their houses. Now only when the loan became cheaper, the private sector employees could get the benefit. So similarly, medical. You see, medical is getting very expensive business now. Education of the children is becoming very expensive business now. Some of the PSUs and government sector employees are getting those benefits. They can't really evaluate the kind of benefits that they are getting. So there are pluses and minuses in both the things. So, but attitude, the kind of discipline, if there is a discipline, if you find, like you see the metro rail, example of metro rail, you see, that is also government sector. How things, they have set an example, not only in India, across the world.
It's a world-class
example. So, see, the same kind of people, same government employees, lowly paid people, they are working. But see the kind of difference. So the attitude, the kind of, the supervision that is there at the top, that makes a hell of a difference.
Yes, thank you, sir. You may continue.
Maybe you can throw some light on the railways which he has referred. That how successful.
See, railways has been a success story right from day one. I don't blame railways at any time. See the kind of the magnitude of operations the railways are carrying on throughout the Indian Postal Services and Indian Railways.
Yes.
These are two classic examples. In my mind, I have got great regard for both the organizations. They are world-class organizations. But we have got people here and there. Some people are there because of their lethargy, because of their indiscipline, because of their maybe lapses. Certain accidents have been taking place. Because of certain government interference, maybe what Dr. Srilata mentioned, that rules and regulations and certain policies of the government. Because of those, maybe the growth has not been so phenomenal. Maybe because of relaxation in some of these policies, now Indian Railways is doing much better. So it is not a question, you see, whether changes are there for the railways also, changes are there for the Indian Post and Telegraph Department also.
Even airlines, if you take.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Yes, please speak, Rally.
My question was that I was not talking about government servant salary and private sector. I was talking about the power utility which are being transferred from government sector to private sector, from where the same designation person is getting different salary and the nature of job is same, and the promotional channel is also different for the person of the private utility as well as the person transferred from the government job. So my question is, if this difference will be created, then how the government applied which will be transferred into private utility, how he will accept the change management?
This is a question related to a particular management of a particular company, and I think this should be addressed to that top management of the company itself, that the management should look into such type of disparities, and they should sort out such type of disparities. And if you want to add something in this regard.
I think Dr. Munish has given the correct answer, but I could only say my bit, that you see, certainly nothing can be done radically, but this is an example that some people who are shifting from maybe government to private sector and they start getting higher salaries, so that example will certainly be an eye-opener for the government also to increase the salaries, and you know, that gulf of difference could be reduced. But as I said, there are a lot of benefits the government is also giving which the private sector people are not giving. You are only looking at the pay scale, you are not looking at certain other benefits.
Welfare measures.
And so many things are there. Hundreds of benefits are being, employees are getting in PSUs and government, which none of those the private sector employees getting. Only what they are given is CTC, cost to the company, and that is a very bloated figure. Yeah. That is 50,000 rupees. Yeah. But what the person gets in hand, he may be getting only 20,000 out of it. Most of the other things are just for showing. I am also getting more than 1 lakh of rupees, but what comes in my hand is only 50,000 rupees. Rest 50,000 is there only in the paper, and I don't get any in private sector. I don't get any benefits like, you know, leaves also are curtailed, very few leaves, you know. Then I don't get any loans, I don't get any medical facilities. Everything I have to do from my pocket. I don't get any children education allowance. I don't get any movement allowance, anything. Everything is absorbed in the CTC. So sometimes these figures are not really rational, and you have to look very closely at these figures. 40,000, 50,000 the salary, whereas the government employee may be getting 25,000. But that 25,000 is much better than those 40 to 50,000 if you closely look at it. So wo cheez analyze kariye, please do analyze, and then only you will know the realistic situation.
Yes, please continue, sir.
Now I have got here a schematic diagram. If you can look at this diagram, external pressures for change. There are a lot of issues which everybody knows, all of us know. Economic forces or pressures could be there. Socio-cultural pressures are there. Society demands something new. Culture has changed because of their pay, better, you know, salaries, better things. So their expectations and their requirements have also improved, isn't it? Now earlier people were not using ACs. They were doing with making do with coolers only. Now the water supply is so bad and erratic that coolers are no more possible. So people have shifted to maybe ACs. So these are part of socio-cultural changes that are taking place. So these are changes. Now the power distribution company like yours have to, you know, meet those expectations. That if the power supply is erratic, then certainly the consumers are going to come up with lot of bad feedback. So that has to improve. Similarly, global issues are there. If globally people are doing better and living a better life, and since because of TV and so many, media and all that, easy access to media, everybody knows now, even the poorest people know in the villages that how people are living in the advanced countries and all that, and how people in Delhi are living. Then that difference, those changes is also making them more aware and more expectant of a better lifestyle themselves. So global changes, national changes, everything is going to have act as triggers for change. Technological changes. Technology is growing by leaps and bounds, not only the world over but within our country also. So these technological changes are also acting as triggers for pressures, for making for a lot of changes in our lifestyle, in our dietary habits and so many other things, living, fashion. Everybody, all of us are now wearing much better clothes what we used to wear a few years back because of these changes. Political and legal changes, a lot of new bills, a lot of new policies are coming up. Because of that, a lot of changes are there. Demographical changes are responsible. So all these changes are there. Then we have got also industry environmental change, like threat of new entrants. Already there are, let's say power distribution, you have a monopolistic situation just now. But suppose there are two new competitors. Then suddenly, there will be a lot of gearing up required for the employees of power distribution company. Similarly, power of suppliers, power of buyers. If the buying capacity improves, certainly people are going to, like now buying capacity is improved, people are going to spend more, and they want comfort, and they don't mind spending on ACs and consuming more electricity and all that. So then product substitutes. Just now I was mentioning, if there are two or three different power distribution companies available, then and if the buyers or consumers have got options that you can go for either Reliance or maybe BSCS or maybe some third party, and then they will certainly look at the service quality and then decides which one to opt for. Like now today we have got a number of companies who are giving us TVs and ACs and all those consumer electronics. So people have a lot of choice. So they can, and because of this choice there is a lot of competition also. And because of that, better service has to be provided by the company. Otherwise they don't remain competitive. Then intensity of rivalry. How much aggressive your competitors are. That aggressiveness of the competitors. If your competitors are not aggressive, they are not forcing you to improve your things, certainly it is not going to be an effective trigger for change. So all these things are also going to have lot of impact on these are external pressures or external triggers. Now change in the organization. Who are responsible for making effective change in the organization? Managers, outside consultants, staff specialists. These are three agencies which are visible, but lot of other people are there, other agencies which are not visible. Like every individual in the organization is a change agent and has to be a change agent. And that is why I said in the beginning that the top management of the organization must share all their ideas, all their strategies with the people across board the organization. Everybody should know what changes are being contemplated by the management, what changes are on the anvil, what changes are going to come, what are not going to come. Everything must be in the knowledge of people across both the organization. So every individual employee in the organization is a change agent. Outside consultant only help the process by giving their expertise to the top management, to the people who are managing the change process within the organization, by giving certain cues, certain guidelines to hasten the process, to effectively execute the process. Staff specialists also do the same. So the change agents, in fact, are not only the top management or outside consultants or the staff specialists. Staff specialist means HR specialists, but also each and every line manager, each and every employee in the organization, all are change agents. Now actually when the change takes place, there are 4 stages of change. The first is denial or inertia, as Dr. Munish had mentioned. That inertia, you have to motivate the people, you have to put that thing in the head of the people, that change is coming, wake up. Otherwise people don't even, are not even aware, they are not even conscious that the change is going to be there. So, and most of the people will deny change, there is no change, they won't accept it. Second stage is resistance. Once they come to know that change is contemplated, change is going to be there, then there is an inherent resistance. People don't want to accept change, and the resistance is visible in so many ways. People would not cooperate with the management, people would put lot of hurdles in the process, people will not cooperate, people will not give their contribution, people will not do work effectively, अपना काम भी रोक देंगे, slow कर देंगे, pace will be slowed down. So that kind of resistance could be there. Then third stage is consideration. Once they know that the change has to come, it is inevitable, we cannot do without the change, then only the employee, the average employee wakes up. They start considering and exploring what is the impact of change going to be there. And when they willingly or unwillingly they understand that change has to be there and they are going to be impacted by change, then only the acceptance comes. If you see it in this schematic form, you see, first of all,
slide please. Slide.
See, if we see, look at the first quadrant in the left side, top left, we have got denial. People deny, and and then second stage is resistance, third is exploration, and fourth is commitment. Once they are committed, then only the performance improves. So if we see the graph, denial stage, the performance was at a certain level. Because of the denial, it starts coming down. Then because of resistance, it is plateaued, it doesn't improve. Then exploration stage also, there is no improvement. Then once that acceptance and commitment is there, then again it comes back. So these 4 stages are there. If somehow the organization management can improve the things, and that denial and resistance and exploration stage can be handled by them, and so that employees don't have to put their head into it. If the management shares everything, brings about that awareness in people, tells them that it is nothing bad, and tells them that they are only going to benefit from it, so then the employees will not waste time in denial, resistance and exploration, and things can straight move from it could be a straight line from the left to right commitment stage, it could be a straight line. So the management of the organization should make an effort that all these stages could be obviated, though it is not always possible, because human beings are human beings, they would first wake up that inertia, and then there will be denial, resistance and exploration. But then these stages could be reduced, the period could be reduced.
Thank you, sir. We will continue to discuss the managing the changes, and it is the time to have a break. We will have a 15 minutes break, and we will reassemble here at 11:30. If you have any question in your mind regarding these discussions, you may ask in the next session. So till then, goodbye. We will meet at 11:30. Thank you.